Okay, so yesterday I was actually thinking about our last conversation, which was about this new feature, which was it's a bit like a black swan event. This feature that the browser is now suddenly accessible inside a WebXR immersive experience. It's a bit like a black swan event, like nobody expected this, I think, and we were almost surprised, and both of you and I thought it was a bug, like, oh, there's something wrong in my code, did I trigger some kind of weird mode? And it was actually very fun when you also mentioned it. Anyways, sorry for the noise here, but so I was thinking more about it, and I was just like, okay, now I'm going full Fabien Benetou mode, and I'm going to prototype how this would work. Let's do it. I went in for a copy paste experiment, and I will. Do you see my screen? Okay, so I will start this video. This is basically I decided to quickly write some extra code into the XR shell. I wrote two small apps. One is an iPhone app, and the other is a paste app. And yeah, it's just temporary. So here in the menu bar, the top icons are basically paste and browse. It's a bit small, perhaps, to see. So here I am. Now I'm going to Okay, right now I'm inside the WebXR immersive mode, and now I'm basically pinching my right hand, which pops up this browser. This is very meta, by the way. That we're sort of like in our web page, looking at our web page. And now I've clicked, here on the right you can see I've clicked the browse button, and so you can, for example, now visit your wiki, and that works in iframe, but oh shit, I went let me go here. So I entered a different URL, remote.html, as you can see here. And now you can see that it opens a window with this iframe, and it basically shows a small HTML site which shows an image, and it basically shows a button that copy this object to your clipboard. And basically the idea is to basically copy a GLB model to the clipboard. Okay, so I'm clicking the button. So now it basically copied the GLB to the clipboard via JavaScript, and this is actually not possible, but it is always possible to copy text to the clipboard. So yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So basically the use case is we want to copy things other than text from a website into our immersive experience. And since the clipboard only allows text to be copied and pasted, what happens here behind the scene is that the 3D model, a 3D model, is now being converted to text and then copied to the clipboard, so that and this is a very abstract demo. I really have to work on my communication skills, but anyways, here. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Aha. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I was actually planning to do that, but I was thinking, or I was actually doing it I wanted to finish it before this meeting so that I could show it, and this is the best I could do anyway. There will be probably be a next version with actually seeing, let's say, a vegetable being a 3D vegetable being copied into the current scene, where you can actually also see it in 3D. But I think what I think is interesting about this approach, this okay, now it's a file. It could also have been an A-frame component in text, or which has, I know, all kinds of security implications. But it could actually be anything. It could also be a JSON, or a basically an array of files. Now it's just one file. But yeah, I'm to wrap this whole thing up, I'm pretty intrigued by this accidental feature of showing the browser in the immersive space, because this opens up a lot of possibilities where networking is not really, or this is like zero networking code to get something from one website into your own WebXR experience. It's very interesting, and I secretly hope that the fact that Meta is doing this will hopefully sort of push some kind of standard around this, because this saves so much work. I was actually literally browsing your wiki and being able to copy paste that text as well. So yeah, really excited about this actually. So sorry, this was the demo. Mhm. Oh, nice. Hmm. 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 Yeah, that is a very good point. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. You also, well, I think you can even extend a bit on the classical clipboard, like you said, by allowing more, like who is this from, uh, etc. And I was even thinking about. Let me also share my screen. What this also enables is basically this. I don't know if you were aware of this one on the screen. Oh, really? Oh, share this tab instead. I guess we'll see it now. Okay, I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I'll share my whole screen because. It should work. So, what I think what would be very interesting is if we would do an experiment by, so now I had a simple iframe with an HTML, but we can also load a WebXR experience inside a WebXR experience in this way. So I'm curious, what would happen if we would launch your text VR experience as an iframe, like in the movie I showed you, and then we can, first of all, we can jump in if we set this allow VR as yes, but whatever we do there, we could sort of publish to the clipboard, and then if we exit from your experience, maybe we are even able to paste something of that into the parent WebXR application. And you could also do this the other way around, that if you somehow allow in your text VR engine to basically load an iframe, then yeah, you could also open the XR shell there, and like it's an interesting yeah, it's an interesting way to create WebXR portals via the iframe, as well as a clipboard portal, sort of between WebXR experiences. I'm even amazed that they allow iframes like usual in this browser, in this in VR browser. They are non-full screen, but they will contain the VR button of A-frame. So if you click that, I think you will first, oh, maybe you will first exit, and then you have to, I'm not really sure what happens. Yeah, that's a good point. That's cool. That is very cool. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I really hope that the other browser, like the Lynx browser or Pico browser, will also allow this in VR browser. I did not ask, but it's like I'm excited and warned by you that this that it doesn't mean that this is gonna stay here, this feature in this form. So yeah, I'm to be honest, it's sometimes a bit confusing to be enthusiastic and cautious at the same time to bet on this. Mm-hmm. I remember, yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, that's pretty good news. I also remember Mr. Doob mentioning that this also works for the 3D editor um, of 3GS, and I was thinking this is an interesting sort of new turn or new direction where I can imagine that certain 3D editing features and sort of mm, yeah, ways of editing 3D will stay in the 2D part of things, and other kind of ways to manipulate 3D objects will be in the immersive one. So I think this is pointing towards a more hybrid 3D editor um, direction, where you would basically have your 2D editor-ish classical, where you perhaps to enter some text or custom attributes or whatever, like the really detailed stuff, but the manipulating and scaling and perhaps translating, you can do that spatially. I think that could be a really a sort of end to this quest of, these people who are always yeah, they have this prophecy that the future of 3D editors will be fully spatially, but so I think that is sort of like now off the table. I think this, at least for the WebXR space, I think there is much more to say. It's also much more cheaper to implement, to go for this hybrid approach, where you just have this A-frame inspector editor or 3GS editor, and perhaps some extra spatial tools to do some other things spatially as well to the scene. Well, yeah, yes and no, as in that I think certain things uh, are easier to do in 2D. For example, to see simply a entity graph like in A-frame inspector, it's already made. It works, and but I think so. I think it will become hybrid in the sense that will stay in the browser. You can do that now in your immersive experience as well. But stuff like scaling, positioning, transforming, all this sort of mouse-heavy work, I think that will become probably, it's it's easier to do that spatially with your hand controllers or whatever in the scene itself spatially. So I just imagine that some features, I think there will not be a sort of like full spatial 3D editor taking over soon. I would rather think that it's more the certain features of these 2D, 3D editors are going to be moved to the spatial dimension. So transform tools, scale, rotate, all these things you can do with hand controllers. So I think it's going to be a sort of hybrid direction to edit this kind of like models and stuff. Mm-hmm. Diego. Oh yeah, Kevin. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also agree with that. The moment you also said like from a pragmatic point of view, I also realized that it could be just a sort of temporary moment where it looks like it's going to be hybrid editors, but um, yeah, if you think a bit more long term, then I think it's very reasonable to expect that 3D will eat 2D, sort of. I mean, it's much cheaper to produce 2D in a 3D scene than the other way around, because if all your software and hardware is already tweaked to 3D, then it's very easy to project 2D, but it's way harder to do the other way around on let's say a device which is tuned for 2D. So I can definitely see it basically eating all the 2D tools, and having basically exploding the 2D interface, and fragmenting it into all kinds of smaller features which you can see in 3D, so that you're basically it's a bit like more intuitive, so you don't have these massive sort of these massive user interfaces with a sort of feature overload on one page. I think yeah, that could definitely be sort of like slowly moving into 3D. The last question, by the way, does that still work, the 3D editor of Kevin and Diego? Oh shit, it's not open source. Mm-hmm. 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 Uh-huh. I think actually, I know that Mr. Doob published transform tools recently again on his Twitter feed, where he said that it also works in VR. I was thinking, what the only thing you, well, the only thing, what would be a big win if you could use transform tools with hand support, because then you could, for example, via a custom property in a GLTF model of a house, for example, you could, let's say, um, you know, put a custom property on a chair and call it translatable, scalable, or rotatable, and then if the scene loads, then certain objects in the scene then are basically decorated with the transform tools, some arrows, and you can basically manipulate it. That would be really, I think, really useful. There's a lot of real estate VR applications, but all of them show you a dead model, like you cannot do anything with it. And it would be great if you could just move around some things of a model. That would be such a bare bones in VR editor already. And or sorry, I'm dreaming away a bit, but this AI mesh generator service of Diego would also, oh, that would be great. His service plus this old editor of him. Like, why doesn't he reboot that? That would be epic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say goodbye to anybody listening. I'll stop the recording here. And thanks.